Today we're going to go over bypass doors. We're going to go over the basics on how to install this correctly and maybe the ins and outs. So by starting out, we're going to nail this jamb together. And by nailing these jambs together, we want to make sure that we're nice and flush here and even. Otherwise, it's going to cause us problems when nailing the casing. So that's very important. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stand this up. So, starting off, we're just going to tack one nail on each side. And I usually lift it a little bit, as long as there's not another door beside it very closely, as long as it's getting carpet in the room. Usually 3/8 of an inch is pretty good, so I put a 3/8 block down there. But you do need to know what the flooring's getting. And then we're going to go ahead and check to see where we're at. We should measure each side and measure the same. So we got 6, a little heavy, so we're going to get the same thing down here. So we're pretty good right there. And then you can check it from the inside here. Should be kind of close. It's saying it needs to go back, so I hit it back, but then you need to measure across. It needs to measure the same across here. So we're 70 1/8. So we want 70 1/8 right here. And we should have our 70 1/8 right there. So that's looking pretty good. So now we're going to get our doors and put them in here. I do usually like to shoot a nail or two up here to make sure that we're not going to pull it down because the doors are heavy. So that one I'm going to have to angle them a bit to make sure I hit some wood. And then I always check them. Grab a piece of casing here. Usually these, you want to see if your casing is straight. And doors are always really straight, so you can tell that's very straight right there. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't have this pushed up or down really hard, which you can tell I have it pushed up right now because it's not straight across there. So I'm going to pull it down a bit, not too much. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to check it on the inside. And we got the same thing going on to where it's pushed up a little bit. I'm going to bring it down just a hair. And okay, now we're looking pretty close. So that's going to be our starting point. You want to get an angle going and just hook them on there so that they hook in there. Usually when you come into a room, you want to make sure that your back door is the furthest away from your entrance. And the one on the front should be closest to the entry because they do overlap each other. So now I'm just going to kind of see where we're at. So you can see it's not hitting too badly. It's a little open on the bottom. And it's really pretty good right there because I actually kind of squared it up by my measurements and everything. So now I'm just going to shoot. Usually I want double nails up and down. So this is usually how I start, is I go ahead and get 2 nails. And you want to kind of hold it because the nails will suck it back. about every 18 to 24 inches on your nails. You want to after I've done that, we're going to have to do some adjustments. That's going to suck it back in some places, as you can see. So you can either use a chisel and pry, you know, like this. Drive it and pry it a little bit. You can use a pry bar, whichever works best for you. I mean, a little bit. The thing with these though, if you pull it too much, it won't take much to really pull it out of whack. So I'm not getting that to come where I want it, so I'm gonna kind of pop a few of these here, get it to go out a little bit. There, it's getting pretty good. A little bit of adjustment. And usually when you're doing this, you can really get this jamb at an angle, because I'm working one side of the jamb right now. So we don't know what the back's doing. So bring the other door in there, which my other door is actually, as you can see, it's out of adjustment. So we're going to adjust it just a bit. And usually it's pretty easy to do. You can take something like a chisel and just tap the bracket so it moves a little bit, and then check it to see if you're there. And that's looking pretty good. So we're going to go back to the outside and take a look. So yeah, see, we're not too bad right there. You know, this track's a little, you can bend the track a little bit to fix minor problems. So, but you can see how I adjusted the front side was looking great. Back side's not looking great right now. So that's because we got a twist in the jamb. So now we're gonna, you always need to make sure that your jamb's straight, not real twisted, because that'll cause you a lot of problems. But usually you can pry it out a little bit like that, using your hammer, pry bar, or whatever your favorite tool is to pry with. As you can see, we're looking pretty good there. Sometimes you can bump it with the door, fix the minor problems. Now we're going to come over to this side, and we got minor problems here. It's not too bad. A little twisted up on the bottom here. A little open here. If you can get your hammer in here, this is probably the easiest tool for this. If it's too tight, then you may have to use a pry bar or a chisel. So that's not too bad. So I'm going to check it with the other door here and see where we're at. Looks kind of similar. Sometimes you can bend these tracks just a little bit. It'll fix the problem. Some. See, that's a little better. A little bit of adjustment. Sometimes it's easier to see it from the inside here when you're adjusting this back one. So now that we've kind of adjusted the back one, there's still some areas I'm not super happy about, so I'm just tapping, doing the final adjustments here. I'm going to put another nail here at the top. Seems like it's hitting right here in this one little corner here for some reason. There, that fixed a lot of it. Now we're going to check the front one again. Sometimes once you adjust one, it will mess up the other one. So yeah, see, we're off here a little bit. So we're going to work these back and forth. Looks like I need another nail here at the top. So I'm going to add another nail. It's like if you need nails to make it better, just add them where needed. So So that's looking pretty good. We're a little wide here at the bottom again. So we're gonna pull that out. There we go, it's looking pretty good. Check the back door again, make sure we didn't mess up that one. It's not looking too bad, it's looking pretty nice. Just double check our other side. I like it, it looks good. Make sure we didn't mess anything up in the process. Yeah, looks good. So now we're ready to case the door. So this head casing's not cut correctly. So I'm gonna line it up here, the 5/16 margin I want, come across. And then I'm gonna mark it right here, just short of this line right here, you know, that's in this. And I'm gonna go and recut this miter. We just took this out of the truck and we're just starting off today. So we're gonna make sure our saw is not out of alignment, because it can, through moving it, get out of alignment. So we're gonna make sure we're on 0. And then we are gonna put our saw at 45 here, lock it in, and cut our angle. And there we go. I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, but we were using the 16 gauge gun. We are switching to the 18 gauge gun with the 1 3/4 nails for the casing. We just want to pre-check our casing, make sure it's going to lay flat. It looks like it's going to go very nicely, so I'm going to go ahead and tack it right here. Tack it over on this side. I'm a little off, so I'm going to bring it that way a bit. There, that's looking better. And then go ahead and do our double nails across. And then we're going to go ahead and just check our casing legs, make sure, you know, like I said, that there's no sheetrock sticking out anywhere, which I could visibly see where I did it with the hammer, where my hammer was adjusting it. There's some tears in there that will hold me out, so I just knock them down. I'm just going to push it on here for a second. Looks like it's going to work good all the way up and down. I put some glue on my miter. And we're going to go ahead and nail this. We want it as flush as we can up here on the top. We'd like to get 4 nails fairly close to the top. It is a little bit back. I can feel that. You can't always see it, but sometimes you can feel that it's off. So I'm going to take my chisel, just knock it out just a little bit, and then put another nail up here so that it's correct. Now we're looking a lot better. I think I'm a little past. Give a little tap there. So now we're nice. It feels good. You should be able to feel it, you know, with your hand if you can't see it. Should be nice and flush on those miters. And about every 16 to 18 inches on nailing. 4 nails again on the bottom. We're going to do the same over here. Double check, make sure it's going to work. We'll see we got a problem here. See how it's not going back. The mud's sticking out in a few places, but I can see that the mud is sticking out almost from here to here on the drywall. So usually is what I do is you're going to want to, if you're not sure of where your casing's going to be, do a line, you know, up and down so that you know where you can cut. So now I know I can knife cut this, you know, right. I usually want to be about a ½ inch from my pencil line is usually sufficient. And you can see how when you're cutting, it wants to go kind of squiggly, so you got to be careful not to get too close to your line. And then you're going to want to beat this down. what I like to do is just, a lot of times you can get a hold of this and just peel it out of there. It's pretty easy to kind of hit it as you're peeling it down. It'll really help if you get rid of this. And you can tell I did hit the jam a little bit, so I'm just going to check. I got a little tap there, so I want to make sure I didn't mess anything up. Looks pretty good. And then a lot of times I'll take the hammer and just go like, give it a scrape right there. It kind of tells you if you're where you need to be or not. And now I can push this down real easily all the way up and down. So it should turn out very nice. I'm going to put the glue on here and nail it up. And again, I like to get the 4 nails up here because as you can see, for whatever reason, this one wants to angle away from the door. This is why I put the 4 nails up here. So I can put my 4 nails and I can bend it where I need it to be. Give a little correction there on the casing, and I can finish nailing it. So, and this one it's wanting, because I had to beat the drywall so badly, you always want to nail your inside first. Make sure you're pushing it down before you nail it. If you leave that gap and try to nail it, it'll stay gapped. So you want to push it down tight to the jamb. Get your 4 nails on the bottom. I'm going to add another nail there. And here it's wanting to pull away because of that funny angle, and then add my rest of my nails in right here. All right, and that pretty much completes the bypass doors. And then we will add a block here in the middle for the carpet areas with some hard nails. So you're going to want to cut a block that's at least 3.5 wide by 7 or 8 inches long. Then you can kind of tell by where the doors sit, you know, with them all the way pushed to both sides, and you can check it on the inside. Just want to make sure it's even with your jamb there. Got the block on here. So we can tell that we want it to be sticking out a couple inches on both sides here, as you can see, and we're just gonna double check, you know, this. Let's see here, I'm actually kind of off a little bit. This can be out this way. You just want it to be where it's pretty equal right here, and then you can use some hard nails in order to put this in, and I usually try to put them on each corner because we are going to be putting a plastic guide on this later after carpet. And this is only for carpet areas. If it's going to be vinyl, it will not get these. They will be drilled into the concrete later. So we want to make sure that's pretty snug, and that looks like it'll work. That's it.